everyone, I'm Helene. Thank you for being here today at Cabin Fever Crochet. I sure hope you enjoy this fun project and fun stitch we're going to work up for making this water or wine bottle holder. You can make it in a variety of sizes. Adjust the strap to be shoulder strap or crossbody if you'd like to help distribute that weight for water bottle when you're out and about walking around. So I'm going to go over yarn recommendations and how you can size it up to your liking. I've worked several different samples, a few that are already full size complete, so I could get an idea of what that I felt worked best for this project. So as you know, any liquid, it's going to have some weight to it, and it will stretch your fabric out some. Now these two do happen to be pretty stretchy type of fibers. I recommend to hold its shape, to go with a yarn that is a little denser, tighter, that doesn't have as much give to it. I really like these two yarns. Unfortunately, they're discontinued, but I have a lot to use up. This is the Bernat Homemaker Decor yarn. It is a number 5 bulky, 72% cotton, tubular construction with the rest, the 28% nylon core. So if you have a yarn similar to this, then you can just go down a hook size from whatever is recommended. Give that a try. You want for sure the base to be pretty good tight construction to give it the structure that you need to hold its shape. And so if you don't mind that extra stretch, then you just work it a little bit shorter from the height of the bottle so that when you put the weight in it and it stretches, then it is going to add to the length of it. This yarn on the bottle portion, this is Lion Brand Dream Maker, which is another bulky yarn, and it is a similar type. It's more flat, not as tubular. It's definitely like a ribbon type, but it's so nice, and I just thought it turned out really cute for this particular piece. And it's acrylic with a nylon core, and then I finished the top portion and the handle in the same yarn, the Bernat Homemaker Home Decor, I think it was. And you get a really nice sturdy handle for that, and it is worked in almost one piece. The handle, one side of it is one piece construction that you carry on when you get to the height of the bottle, and then we will cut the yarn and then finish the other half. It's really pretty easy, and as always I take you through step by step and show you just what to do. And as a little added touch, I put in a self-cinch tie cord. You don't have to. I just thought that made a really nice presentation, especially say if you're going to an event, a barbecue, a cookout, a gathering, and you're taking a bottle of wine, or if you're just going for a dinner at someone's house, you can make one and say like vineyard colored themes or whatever their favorite colors are, and that would make a really nice presentation as shown at the beginning in the photo with the wine bottle in it. And then they have a nice little sling bottle holder that they can use afterwards, and you can adjust the circumference, which will give you various widths to accommodate whatever your favorite bottle is. And I'm going to give you the measurements on what is a good mid-range diameter that will stretch and then recover for various bottle sizes. And over here I haven't sewn in my ends or anything, but I did try in a little bit of a thicker number 4 weight, pretty average actually, and I do like that. It's a little bit too stretchy of a yarn for this, but it works, and I tested out different bottles also. So it depends. If you want more stitch definition, then you can go with a less textured type of yarn. But I like this stitch so much, I'm going to work up another project in this, doing something totally different with it. Okay, and then I went to a lighter number 4 weight in the Heron Cotton Cakes yarn. It's by Yarnspirations, and Michael's here in the States carries it. And you can see how much thinner it is compared to the others, and it with one strand, because it is a much lighter weight number 4 yarn. It's just too thin, too wimpy in my opinion, unless you're using a much smaller water bottle and you go down maybe even 2 hook sizes. You could do that, and then I'll give you the measurements to where you'll get the circumference that you need for it. And it's not that it doesn't work, I just think well, it doesn't have the structure. And then I tried, lastly, to show you this, I tried 2 strands together, and I used a bunch of different end pieces that I had. That's why I have all these ends to sew in. But the 2 strands made a really nice, thick, cushion, sturdy strap, which is great if you are carrying any weight to it at all. And if you carry a purse or a bag that has a lot of stuff in it, you know what I mean, how that can dig in your shoulders and maybe kind of bug your neck after a while. And for that reason, I like the crossbodies, because they do help distribute the weight from that center line of gravity going across your body, and a little more comfortable, but that's up to you. You can wear it however you like to. And it made a really nice, thick, sturdy fabric. So if you want to put 2 strands together, you can certainly do that. Also, you can make a shorter handled one and have it hanging off the side of your chair if you're sitting outside or a place where you don't necessarily have a table next to you. And as far as beads go, I just picked these up at the local craft store. You want to get larger hole beads, enough to be able to fit your yarn through when you are finished, and I'll show you what I mean when we get to the end. And another yarn I think would be really good for this is just your basic dishcloth cotton. It's strong, it's sturdy, and comes in tons of pretty colors. And I popped into Hobby Lobby yesterday. Ooh, but I picked up this color in their soft and sleek low pill fiber. It is definitely a thicker number 4, and it's 100% acrylic. I thought it might work for this, so I want to give this a try. And it's not fuzzy, which I like for this project also. And this is the color Violet Stripes. It's a gradient self-striping. Now to go with the schematics of it, the multiples is pretty easy. It is a 2-row repeat after our first setup row, just 1 setup row, and it's worked in multiples of 4, and we're going to be working this in the round. So here are a few options for you. If you are working with a bulkier weight, such as the first 2 that I showed you, all right, I would think that the total number after you finish the increase rounds, 24, is good to get to 3 1/4 inches, or 8.5 centimeters, the base that we begin with. And then you take your measuring tape and you go from one side to the other and measure that. Okay, so either 24, 28, perhaps if you are working in a standard medium weight number 4 worsted type, or even a little bit thicker number 4 yarn, 28 total after the increase round should be enough. If you were working in a thinner weight yarn, then you might want to go up to 32, or to fit, say, a wine bottle, I would go with 32. So how to get to either of these 3. Working in numbers evenly divided by 4. So my beginning number, the number that you begin in the magic circle, we're going to be working half double crochets. In a medium weight yarn, you would start with 7 half double crochets in the magic circle. Times 4 total rounds for the base equals 28 total half double crochets. If you are working with a thicker type yarn, then think 24 half double crochets total. So you begin with 8 in the magic circle, and so it's your beginning number in the magic circle times the number of increase rounds, times the number of increase rounds that you're going to do. So 24 half double total, you begin with 8 in the magic circle, and you will do times 3 increase rounds, and then we will begin with the pattern. All right, from this yarn myself, I'm going to begin with 7 half double crochets in the magic circle, and I'm going to work times 4 increase rounds to give me my 28. And if you are working with a thinner yarn, then you begin also with the 8 half double crochets in the magic circle, and you times that by 4 increase rounds to give you your total number of 32. Okay, so I give you 3 different options for different types of yarn, different sizes. All right, but to start, every one, okay, every size. All right, we're going to begin with a magic circle, palm, fingers facing up, palm facing me. All right, drape the tail end over the palm, coming down, grab the working yarn, the part that's attached to your ball, around the back of your fingers to the front and make an X. Okay, and just secure that a little, anchor that with your finger, and go up underneath the tail. It's under the part you just crossed over. Insert your hook, grab the end you crossed over and pull that through. And then I just yarn over, chain 1 to lock that in. I'm going to begin around 1 for the base. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 for your half double crochet. And if you are not sure how many you need, then I would just go middle of the road and work what I am, beginning with the 7 half double crochets in the magic ring. So there's 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. And then now for round 2, do not slip stitch to join. We are going to work in one continuous round. So again, yarn over, insert your hook through both loops of the first stitch, place a half double crochet and another half double crochet in the exact same beginning stitch. So you'll have 2 in the first. Take your stitch marker and place that into the first of those 2 half double crochets, and then now place 2 half double crochets in each stitch all the way around, and you will have a total of 14 half double crochets if you are working the medium weight yarn size. And if you began with 8 half double crochets for either of the 2 other size options, then you will have 16 half double crochets total at the end of round 2. Okay, so 2 half double crochets in each stitch around, and I will meet you there. And I'm back around at the end of round 2. Now we are going to begin our 3rd increase round. Okay, take your stitch marker out for just a second. Again, do not slip stitch. We're going to work directly into the very next stitch with 2 half double crochets in the first, stitch marker back into the first of those 2. Sorry for the whacking of my hook there. And 1 half double crochet into the next, and that is your sequence all the way around. 2 half double crochets in the next, 1 half double crochet in the next, 2 1 2 1 all the way around. When you get back around for the size that I am working for the 28 total, you will have 21 half double crochets at the end of round 3. If you are working the smaller number with the thicker yarn, then this is where you will stop. You will already have your base at 24 half double crochets, and the larger size you will also have 24, but you will work one more round. Okay, so you'll either have 24 or 21 half double crochets at the end of round 3. I'm back at the end of round 3, and again, if you are working the total number of 24, you have that now, so you will skip this next round. You'll join us after the 4th round, and we will all carry on doing the same thing. Okay, so to begin round 4, so for this last round, last increase round, in the very next stitch, the sequence, you will place 2 half double crochets in the first and 1 half double crochet in each of the next 2. Okay, oops, and I forgot to place my stitch marker, so that is 4. Back to the beginning, put 1 in, okay, 2 half double crochets in the next, and 1 half double crochet in each of the next 2, and that is your sequence for round 4. 2 in the next, 1 in each of the next 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, all the way back to the beginning. At the end of round 4, you will either have 28 like me or 32 if you're working the largest size, and I will see you there. Here we are at the end of our increase rounds, and in my case that's round 4. You can take a measuring tape if you have one handy just to double check. So you can see that is right at 3 1/4 inches. How about that? Did I guess that pretty good? Okay, and that's so that what is just 8.5 centimeters. Doesn't have to be exact, but this is very forgiving, and it doesn't matter if it's a little bit big, and because it is sturdy and it's strong. And if it's a little small, that's okay too, because yarn will still stretch a little bit. You know, it still has some give to it, so it'll work out just fine. All right, so now everyone, take your stitch marker out, and we are all going to work this the same. Okay. First, slip stitch into the very first stitch of the round, going through both loops, both the front and back loop, okay, of the top of your stitch. Slip stitch. Now chain 1, cinch that down a bit. Okay, we're going to half double crochet, so yarn over, and we're going to work into the back loop only. Going to half double crochet into the back loop only. It's a little tight, get it in there, okay, of that first stitch, and every stitch around, half double crochet into the back loop, the loop that's farthest away from you, back loop only all the way around, and that, try not to split your yarn, that creates an edge, a little lip on the base, and you're going to see what I mean. And this is just one stitch in each all the way around. We are finished with our increases. So you will see after you do a few, okay, that it creates this row around to curve up, and that gives a real good base. You have a flat base for the bottom of your bottle, and then now you will have your sidewall edges. So this is the beginning of our sidewalls. And when you are working into into the back loop. To keep that loop from getting stretched out, when I yarn over and pull through, I will shift my thumb up and hold it, the bottom of the stitch, right at the base of the loops on my hook as I'm working, and then I cinch it down pretty well. Okay, and that will help keep that stitch on this round from getting stretched out. Okay, go ahead, finish this round, and I will meet you back here. And I'm back around at the end of our first side wall, as I'm going to call it round, working in the back loop. So when we join, which we are going to join to that first half double crochet, remember we slip stitched, so that does not count as a stitch. Do not accidentally work into that. So now slip stitch to your beginning half double crochet, and then on this round we're going to chain one again and half double crochet in the first stitch, one half double crochet in each stitch all the way around, working through both loops this time, here and throughout. Both loops, one half double crochet each stitch around. Okay, and then you will do one more round just like it. So when you come back around here, go ahead, slip stitch again to that beginning half double crochet just as we did here, chain one, half double crochet in the first and in each stitch around, making sure you do not accidentally work into the slip stitch or that chain one. And again, you can double check your stitch count if you like. So I will meet you at the end of our third round of our side wall, all half double crochets. Okay, at the end of our third round, creating the side wall, and I did that just for extra structure, a little bit extra security and shape to hold that bottle in place, because you know, if you look at a bottle itself, it always has a base, a wall around the bottom of some type. The shape of it, sometimes there's a bottle where it actually has a thicker wall around the bottom portion, but that's what I modeled that after, just to give a little more structure to it. Okay, so now again, everyone, we're going to be working the pattern exactly the same. Okay, so now again, we're going to slip stitch through both loops of the first stitch, and you won't need the stitch marker again until we get to the handle, so you can set that aside for now. Okay, so now we're going to begin the one set up round for the pattern. Chain one, and we're going to create a cluster working back into that very first stitch. It's a 2 double crochet cluster. So yarn over, insert your hook into that same first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, nice and tall to the height of double crochets. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2. Now we're going to repeat that process, yarn over, insert your hook again into the same stitch, pull up a loop, again nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2. You have 3 loops on your hook again, yarn over, and now to finish it you pull through all 3. Now we're going to chain 2, skip only 1 stitch, skip the next, single crochet in the next, chain 2 again, skip 1, cluster in the next, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over again, back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now yarn over, pull through all 3. Chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next, and that is your repeat all the way around. I'm going to show you that one more time. Chain 2, skip the next, cluster in the next, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. 2 loops on your hook. Now we repeat that, yarn over, back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 4 loops on your hook. You will yarn over, pull through the first 2. Now yarn over and pull through all 3. Chain 2, skip the next, single crochet in the next. And you will have 1 stitch left. Okay, and I will meet you at the end and we'll finish this round together. I'm back around at the end of our first pattern round, the setup round. I put a single crochet in the second to last stitch. That's 1 stitch left. Remember that slip stitch does not count as a stitch. So now all we do is chain 2, and then we are going to slip stitch to the top of the first cluster, which is that elongated stitch across the top. Just on top of those first 2 loops, slip stitch. Okay, so now to begin the first of our 2-row repeat, now chain 1, single crochet right back into that very top of the cluster where we slip stitched into, 1 single crochet, and now you're going to chain 5 and slip stitch into the top of the next cluster. So you skip over the chain 2 here, the single crochet, and the next 2 chains, you go into the top of that cluster stitch and you single crochet. Again, chain 5, single crochet into the top of the next cluster, that little bit of elongated stitch across the top. Make sure it's right in the center of the cluster, and that is your repeat all the way around. Chain 5, single crochet, the top of the cluster, chain 5, single crochet in the top of each cluster all the way around. When you get to the end, you will have your last cluster. You chain 5 and then slip stitch into the top of the single crochet at the beginning. Okay, I will meet you back around and we'll work that together. And back around at the end of round 1 of our 2-row repeat of the pattern. I've put my last single crochet into the last cluster of this round. So now go ahead and chain 5 again. Skip over and slip stitch into the top of your beginning single crochet. And now for round 2, chain 1, and we're going to place a cluster in the first single crochet. So as we did on our beginning setup round, go ahead, you yarn over, insert your hook into the exact same stitch, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, leaves you 2. Repeat that, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 2, and this time we are going to single crochet around the center of this chain 5 space. Don't go through the loops. That's going to stretch that stitch out way too much. Okay, so just go right in the center. So you have 5, you'll have 2 on each side of your center, and what I do is I insert my hook about where the center is, and I'll lift it up and I'll pinch either side off with my finger to hold it in place and make my single crochet, and that way it just gets it approximately right in the center as I work it. You can just adjust it a little bit to either side if you want or need to, but that'll hit it just about the right spot, and then you really don't have to mess with it much, if at all, afterwards. Okay, so now chain 2 again, and here we are. We're going to place another cluster into the next single crochet. All right, so just as you've worked your cluster before, your 2 double crochet cluster, we do that again. Now chain 2, another chain 5 space, that's where you work your single crochet. Chain 2, cluster in the single crochet, and that is your easy repeat all the way around. After the cluster, you chain 2, place a single crochet in the center of your chain 5 space. At the end of round 2 of our 2-row repeat of the pattern, I have worked my last single crochet around the last chain 5 space, and now you chain 2 and then slip stitch to the top of your beginning cluster. And then you just repeat rows 1 and 2 to your desired height. Okay, so how about, what do you say we work these 2 rounds together again? Let me know, do you like when I do that and just kind of recap that a little bit? For me, I think it just helps. It helps me to get it in my head anyway. Okay, so now we're going to repeat round 1. We just finished a cluster round, so now we begin with our single crochet and chain 5 round. Begin with the chain 1, single crochet in that same beginning stitch, the top of the cluster, and now chain 5, single crochet in the top of the next cluster. That's all you do all the way around. Chain 5, single crochet in the cluster all the way around. That's a fast round. That took hardly any time at all. Okay, so I finished my last single crochet in the last cluster, chain 5, and then slip stitch into the beginning single crochet, and now it's time for the cluster round. Chain 1 and into that beginning single crochet, work your beginning cluster, chain 2, single crochet around the center of the chain 5 space, chain 2, there's your next single crochet, work a cluster. And once you get going around and around on this, that is a kind of an easier spot to make a mistake by accidentally skipping over the next single crochet. So just make sure you hit every chain space and every single crochet. Okay, so now we work the cluster, chain 2, single crochet around the next chain 5 space, chain 2, cluster in the very next single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the chain 5 space, chain 2, cluster in the next single crochet. And that is your repeat, your 2-row repeat for this fun and easy pattern. I really like the texture that creates, and also the different look with different types of yarn. So you will end on row 2, and then we are going to work 3 finishing rounds to give a nice, strong, more sturdy and strong and structured top, just as we did along the base, and then we will attach our strap from there. So the size of the yarn is going to depend on how many rounds that you do. I worked 5 rounds in this thicker, or is this one's 6. I went up pretty tall, so this one fits that wine bottle very nicely. I know I'll go up at least 5, maybe 6. I'll figure that out, and I will see you when I get there. and then we will continue on for the rest of the pattern. I'm back, and I did go up a total of 6 rounds. I think that'll be plenty with the addition of the 3 finishing rounds. So to do that, I finished my last single crochet around that chain 5 space. Make sure you chain 2. We are going to slip stitch into the top of that beginning cluster. All right, and now we're going to put 1 half double crochet in each stitch that accounts for the set of 4 stitches to make up the sequence. Okay, so chain 1, going to half double crochet in that same beginning stitch, 1 half double crochet into the chain 2 space, that's 2, 1 half double crochet in the single crochet equals 3, 1 half double in the next chain 2 space equals 4, and that's going to give us a nice straight edge around the top. Okay, so again we have the top of our cluster, place 1 half double there, there's 1, 1 in the next chain 2 space, 2, 1 in the single crochet, 3, 1 in the next chain 2 space makes 4. But when you get to the end, make sure that you place your last half double crochet in the last chain 2 space, and before you connect, which you will slip stitch to your very first half double crochet, double check your stitch count. You should have the exact same number, so you'll either have your 24, 28 or 32 half double crochets around, and I will meet you there. We'll connect and I'll tell you what you do for the next 2 rounds depending on whether you are adding a cinch tie closer or just going to leave it solid. Okay, I'm at the end of the first of our 3 finishing rounds. Go ahead, slip stitch to the top of that beginning cluster, and now your option, if you're going to make a solid base at the top, go ahead, chain 1, half double crochet in that same beginning stitch, and in each half double crochet all the way around, again maintaining the same stitch count. So you will do this for 2 more rounds, a total of 3 half double crochet rounds. So if you want to do a little cinch tie cord, we need to make spaces where we weave it in and out of all the way around. So for the second round, instead of a half double, we're going to do single crochets with the chain 1, skip 1 in between. I did start with the half double crochet on this one, but it made the gaps way too big, way too much spacing in between, and because of that I had to use 2 strands of yarn, which made it very thick for the cord to make up the difference so that it didn't weaken, because see that if there's too much of a space, it's going to weaken the top and cause it to overstretch entirely too much when you have a bottle in there. So begin with the chain 1, single crochet into that same very first stitch, chain 1 again, skip the next, single crochet into the next, chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next. It's what you repeat all the way around. Chain 1, skip the next, single crochet in the next. Okay, and back around at the end of round 2 for the cinch tie cord round. And yes, the spaces are small, but they are large enough to fit a cinch tie cord in without losing the integrity of the structure and strength that we need at the top. So when you come around to the end, you have your 2 stitches left. So the single crochet goes in the stitch before last, and then you chain 1, skip the last stitch, and then slip stitch to the beginning. Okay, so for now, for round 3, for cinch tie, everyone else, if you're not doing the cinch tie, you worked a regular half double. So now we're going to work our 3rd round of this in a half double with the chain 1. Go ahead and half double crochet in the first single crochet, and now half double crochet in the chain 1 space, half double crochet in the next single crochet, half double crochet in the next chain 1 space, and you go ahead and repeat that all the way around. And as always, I will meet you at the end and work that together. Okay, I'm back around. I have 1 half double left in that last chain space, and then now slip stitch to the beginning half double crochet. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning is for working the chain of your strap, I do recommend going up 1 hook size, because it's going to make it a lot easier to work your stitches into that chain as we come back around. If you don't have 1 hook size up, then you can just use the hook you are working with. Work those chains a little bit more loosely, as long as they're not gaping and they are consistent from one to the next. And now to mark your strap, here's where we slip stitched into. Alright, you can get another stitch marker if you have one and place it there, right where you slip stitched into. For me, the slip stitch where my little slip stitch base is enough for me. That is up to you. Then you're going to rotate that point over to the right. So you have a cluster on the right edge. You fold it in half, you pinch it off, and you can see right where the center is along the other edge, which should line up right through the center of another cluster going up to the top. Mark that spot. And now to double check, you're going to count. So you divide whatever your total number is. If you have 24, 28, or 32, you divide that in half. Okay, so I have 28, so half is 14. Not counting the stitch that you slip stitched into, you will count over that half number. So you count either 12, 14, or 16 over, which should line right up with your stitch marker. Okay, so in my case it's 14 over, starting with the next stitch from where we slip stitched into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, exactly. And now to double check the other side, your stitch count should be the other half, so either 12, 14, or 16, beginning from the next stitch over from your stitch marker, counting across, including the stitch you slip stitched into at the beginning. And if it helps to see that, you can take that slip stitch out for just a sec if you did not mark it. Okay, that's easier to see your stitches. It's easy enough to put back in too. Okay, so from the next stitch over, mine should be again another 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And that's where we slip stitched into. Okay, so that's how you double check your count. Now to begin your strap, all you're going to do from here is just chain, 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 chain. Make a nice long chain or short chain if you want it to be more like a handbag size chain to hang over your chair. That's my dog drinking water. Stitch count does not matter. You can, any number of stitches, just to suit the length that you like, okay? I'm going to do mine, I don't know, undecided if I want to do a crossbody or a shoulder, but I think I will do at least 90 chains. And once you have your long chain, make sure you have no twists in it whatsoever. So from where you connected, keep it on the right side all the way to the other end. Smooth out any twists if you have any. And then keeping your chain straight, insert it from back to front, yarn over and slip stitch that chain to the stitch with your stitch marker, and then double check and make sure your chain is straight again and both of the right sides are facing outward. Okay, and now chain one. Make sure your work again is on the right side up. We're going to yarn over and half double crochet into the first chain, and I am going to work into both the top and that middle loop. And don't worry, when we come back and work the other side, we are not going to be working into this one loop by itself. We're going to be working in between the stitches we're creating now for a fuller, smoother, flatter strap. Okay, so 1/2 double crochet in each chain all the way across. Yes, it's going to take you a few minutes. This first side does take a little bit longer, but it gets much easier once you complete this portion. Easier and faster because you will be working into full stitches from this point forward after you finish this first portion of the strap. Okay, so 1/2 double crochet through the top and the middle loop, okay. Top loop, middle loop, bottom loop, through the top 2 loops all the way across, and I will see you at the other end. Okay, I'm down at the other end of my chain with all of my 1/2 double crochets. When you get to the end, just make sure you do work one into that very last chain. Sometimes they can get a little bit squished down. All right, and now in the stitch just below the chain, the stitch that you slip stitched into when you came around, okay, go ahead and work 1/2 double crochet into that same stitch, and then 1/2 double crochet in each stitch around up to the side of your chain with the stitch marker. Okay, 1/2 double crochet in each. And now we're up to the other side of the chain with the stitch marker. Go ahead and place 1/2 double crochet in that stitch, and then now slip stitch to the very first 1/2 double crochet of your chain. Okay, and then now slip stitch into the next stitch, the next, and every 1/2 double crochet all the way across your chain. One slip stitch, make them nice and full, even, same full size stitch as your 1/2 double crochet stitches. so that does not become overly tight. Okay, and I will meet you at the other end of the strap. And when you've made it down this side of the strap and come up upon the top of the bag, go ahead, just continue slip stitching all the way across into each half double crochet to the other side of the strap. Okay, and just stop right before you get to where we began slip stitching on the strap. And the slip stitches, not only do they make a nice little finishing edge, it also helps to reinforce the strap and prevent it from stretching out and keeping its original shape and strength too. Okay, so here we are, and then now just slip stitch to your beginning slip stitch. And now this is where, if you worked the round for the cinch tie and you need to shore up some of those spaces, then you can just leave a little bit of an extra tail for when you sew that in. Okay, and this one I took that out, that round that I did rather, and I'm going to show you the cinch tie on another bag that will show up better, easier for you to see. So I went ahead and I redid that portion. I just did 3 solid rows of half double crochet. So I'm just going to cut a regular amount of tail. I do not recommend yarning over and making a knot and pulling it through, because you'll have a visible knot here. So I'm going to pull my yarn through without knotting it, and then when I go to sew it in, which I will do the same on both ends, I will bring that tail through from front to back into the next stitch. Okay, pull it through, take that to the back. All right, and just cinch it down a little bit, and that gives a nice smooth even join without a visible knot. And then I just weave it in as usual. I will come down around and tuck it in, and this is where, if I have any gap spaces, I will work around those as I'm weaving in the ends, and work around, say where the stitch marker is that would be a gap portion. Then I would weave in my ends and stitches around and come up, and then you give it a little tug and it's going to close in the circle. So you're weaving in your ends around the circle, and when you come back up you give it a tug, it's going to draw that circle in and tighten that up and reinforce that portion a little bit. And then I'll continue to go back and work my way around that area just to give a little extra strength, which I will probably do anyway where we have that join. Okay, so now to continue on, I'll do that later. Okay, here where we have the stitch marker, you're going to reconnect again. You can take the stitch marker out now. You can put that back in if you like to mark that spot. I'm going to insert my hook and bring in my yarn just to the left of where the strap begins. Okay. You can attach yours however you like. This is how I'm going to do mine. Bring it through. I'm going to chain 1, lock that in, and place 1 half double crochet into that very same stitch and yarn over my tail. When I do my yarn over, I mean I crocheted over my tail. Okay, and then now 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, and just continue placing 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way up to the strap, and then we will continue working along this unfinished edge. After you've worked across the top over to the other side of the strap, place 1 half double crochet in that last little space in between the last stitch and where your strap begins, and that is going to close up that space. And then now work a half double crochet in between the first half double crochet of your strap and the half double crochet along the top of the other side in that gap space right in there. Okay, and now half double crochet in between your next stitch and the stitch after. So as mentioned, we're not going to work into that little chain, but we're going to work in between the stitches with a half double crochet there, and in between each stitch all the way across between the next stitch and the stitch after. Place a half double crochet. So finish this side of the strap with one half double crochet in between each stitch all the way across to the other end, and as usual I will meet you there. This is how your work along this edge of the strap should look. And now we've worked down along the second half of the strap, coming to the very end, and in that last stitch fit one more half double crochet in between the last stitch and where the top, the base of your top edge is. Somewhere down in there, you will just fit that right in and work one more half double crochet, and then again a half double crochet in that little space, which is where we slip stitched the chain into. One half double crochet in there. Okay, and then now slip stitch to the beginning half double crochet, worked along the top edge, and slip stitch into the next as we did before, and in each half double crochet all the way across the second top edge on this other side. Okay. And then that will take you to the beginning of the second half of the strap that we just worked those half double crochets into, and continue working up along this side edge with one slip stitch in each half double crochet all the way across the second half of the strap, just like we did with the first half. And that is going to bring you all the way back down to the base of your strap and where you began the first slip stitch. So when you finish your very last slip stitch of the strap and that base stitch, then go ahead and slip stitch as before into your very first slip stitch. Cut your yarn off, bring it up through the top just like we did on the first side, and then if you need to, you can work around the stitches as you bury in that tail from the back side. Just weave in your end around that little space right there. Give it a gentle tug. You don't want to over tighten, but just to close that up a little bit, and then finish weaving in your ends. And remember to sew in the end of your beginning circle. Just turn it inside out very easily, okay, and sew in your beginning magic circle end as well. And then please be sure to come back for part 2 for just another 20 minutes to finish up, and I will show you how to work that cinch tie cord. And then another idea, a little bonus little decoration for you, and that will be functional too, and I'll show you that as well if that's something that you would like to do. just for a little added touch. Okay then, take care. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day and evening, and I will see you again soon in part 2.